Hello family, I'm back. This is Kimberly Purpoz and welcome to my channel. I did an earlier video about understanding chakras and understanding chakra therapy as it pertains to yoga and Reiki. I felt like the video was going to be too long. So I was going to do this together. I was going to touch on American Aboriginal healing traditions and also chakra therapy, but I decided to do them separate. So this is the other part of the video I was going to talk about. I decided to just do them separate because I felt like I was getting extremely long-winded, and I wanted you all to, to listen to this part too as well about the American Aboriginal healing traditions. I found this interesting article. I was doing a lot of research and studying, and I wanted to learn more about the healing traditions of the Aboriginal people. I know this article say Native American, and I've noticed that a lot of the research I've done, especially when dealing with healing traditions, they tend to clump both Native American and Aboriginal Americans together. They don't differentiate. They don't even acknowledge the American Aborigines at all. They just put Native American and exclude the Aborigines in a lot of the research. Even though they still, I would say, I wouldn't say exclude them. They took the knowledge and the information from the Aboriginals, but they don't acknowledge it being a part of the Aboriginal history. This is an example of the gray washing that has been done for hundreds of years, even though anthropological research has proven countless times that the American Aborigines were here in the Americas as well. But I just wanted to make sure I include this research here because some of the Indian tribes, especially the southeastern woodland Indians, which I'm going to go into detail about that as well, because I think I found some research on the southeastern tribe, which is pretty much almost the east coast of, part of the United States, the southern part, most part. I'm going to touch on that as well because I was interested in that because it touched on a lot of the indigenous heritage that with my family, being Creek and Cherokee and Creek Indian, I want to learn more. And they mentioned the Cherokee Indians here in this particular research. But anyway, this particular article comes from the International Journal of Disability Development and Education. It was published in 2006. And this definitely is a reputable source. It is done in a science scholarly journal research. Whenever possible, it's good to get research from scholarly journal research because it's been thoroughly researched and by scientists and people who are leading experts in the field. But the title of this article is called Native American Healing Traditions. And like I said before, a lot of the titles was going to say Native American because they clumped a lot of the indigenous heritage under Native American. Even though we are two distinct groups, there is the American Aborigines, the people who are descendants from the Australians, and Australians are descendants of Africans that came through, but these are the American Aborigines, who are the original people, the Paleo Indians, and the Native American Indians are the Mongoloids. I'm touching on this because it clumped a lot of the American Aborigines under Native American as a way of grey-washing and keeping hiding the history of the indigenous people who are people of color who are melanated, the darker tone Indians, out of history. So I'm coming in here to touch on this because I want to show that there were two distinct groups. And but it doesn't mention, I'm not sure if it mentioned this in the article, but it does mention the tribes. And if you know your tribe, then you know that they're talking about you too as well. But the author of this article is Terrell A. Portman and Michael T. Garrett. I believe Mr. Portman is from the University of Iowa and Mr. Garrett is from the University of Florida. Let's begin. I'm going to read the abstract first. I'll probably just do the abstract and the introduction. I might touch on a few of the highlighted headings that's in the introduction part. I'm not going to read this whole thing. This is an extensive article and it's very lengthy, but I will definitely put a link to you for this for you guys so you can also check it out. And I also forgot to mention that my chakra necklace and feather silver necklace will be coming soon. I'm still working on the store. Been swamped, but I'll keep you guys posted. It'll be available on a Purpose Healing Art soon. Purpose Healing Art store. It's coming soon. But anyway, it says here, indigenous healing practices among Native Americans have been documented in the United States since colonization. Cultural encapsulation was deterred. The acknowledgement of Native American medicinal practices as a precursor of folk medicine and many herbal remedies, which has great influence among modern medicine. Understanding the Native American healing practices requires helping professionals to have knowledge of Native American cultural belief systems and health and wellness with the many influences that create changes in the mind, body, and natural environment. Native Americans believe, and Aboriginal Americans, I'm going to include Aboriginal Americans, believe that healing practices and traditions operate in the context of relation to four constructs, namely spirituality, Creator, Mother Earth, Great Father, community, family, clan, tribe, nation, environment, daily life, nature, balance, and self, inner passions, and peace, thoughts, and values. This article provides insight into the relationship among each of the constructs. The Native American and Aboriginal Americans healing traditions, also specific examples of current American Aboriginal and Native American indigenous healing practices in the United States are presented. So I try to incorporate American Aboriginal when I read this because we were here too. We were here first. And if we were here first, then we should be on this article as well. They did not separate and differentiate. Since they didn't, I will include our group as well in this article, as well as I read it. But anyway, the keywords to this article is counseling, healing practices, intervention, and I should also include American Aborigines along with the Native Americans. And here, okay. Now I was going to go back over here about this abstract. And it says colonialism. That's the key. Colonialism. Colonialism started in the late 1500s, early 1600s here in the Americas. And everybody know that the original Aboriginals that they found in Virginia here in the United States were American Aborigines, okay? They were people of color. So, of course, when they started off saying colonization, we know that they're including us as well, especially here. And I also saw that, I went through here, and I saw that they had Cherokee Indians in here. And everybody know, and we know that the Cherokee Indians had Negro Indians as well in their tribe. All they did was enslave the darker tone Aborigines, and with the Dawes Commission, they included Caucasians. They allowed the Caucasians to steal our identity and take the land rights that were originally supposed to be given to our ancestors and gave it to the Great Caucasians, the Greys, and also they gave it to the half-breeds. the people who were mixed with Europeans. So they're called the Euro Indians, and those are the ones that you always see. And probably a few, I would say a few Mongoloid Indians, some of the Mongoloid Indians, and that's about it. But all the original people who were here in the Americas were excluded because they reclassified everyone as the Black Indians. I don't like using the word black, but copper colored Indians, or the original bronze colored Indians that they took off and reclassified through paper genocide, because all the Indians did not die off. All they did was reclassify everybody into a totally different racial ethnic group. And I want to also touch on the Indian medicine. Now, I've been doing some research and reading up on this. I'm still doing some more research about the Indian medicine. With the United States, they also have medicine, Indian medicine called hoodoo. Hoodoo is another form of being a root doctor, and those are the shamans or the medicine men in the tribe. And it also stems, they call it African Indian, but everybody know that they try to do it as a cover up, a blending. But I believe that the hoodoo has a lot to do with the American Aborigines. And I'm going to do some more research and study on that, but I'm pretty sure. Now, I've been reading up on it, and I spoke to my grandmother about it, about the hoodoo, because she mentioned that one of my great-grandfathers was a root doctor, and because he was familiar with the land, and he used to get the herbs and things from the earth to prepare medicines to help the people, other American Aborigines, and also the Greys, who wanted to get information, of course, and heal them, within the community or whatever area that they stayed in during that time period, But there were a lot of Indians that were familiar with natural remedies, and and they put this negative connotation to hoodoo. If y'all research hoodoo, not voodoo, but hoodoo, they call it African American and Indian roots practicing. And some people, they try to paint this negative and put negativity feel to it by including New Age stuff and paganism, which has nothing to do with the American Aborigines. And they also I've seen Europeans trying to tap into it and try to reclassify and change it and make it look like it's this negative type of religion. It's not even, it's more like a spiritual awakening, connecting to your ancestors and to earth. It's not really, I believe it's not negative. I'm pretty sure it's negative. Might be some negative parts to it to people, who try to make it out to be. I'm gonna do some research. Don't take my word for it, but from some of the readings that I've been reading, it's dealing more with the ancestors and dealing with the earth. But its origins is dealing with American Aborigines, the Indians. And it's been passed down through the people who are slaves. And so then they try to make the slaves say that all slaves were black and they came from Africa, because they want to strip us of our indigenous heritage and rights here to this land. But in actuality, the slaves were prisoners of war, because they were fighting the Europeans, the Caucasians, for their land. And that's what was really taking place. But I'm going to do some more research on the hoodoo, you all. I'm just learning myself. And as I learn more, I share with you all. And I'm still trying to understand the medicine wheel and the medicine man and the root doctor and all of this as it pertains to the indigenous people who studied what and everything. And I noticed too that hoodoo is very sacred to some people who are American Aborigines who do know it, and it's been passed down for generations. And they sort of don't like sharing too much with outsiders, which I can't blame them, because Europeans, the Greys, have stripped us of a lot of our culture and a lot of our identity, and turning a lot of stuff that we do into a negative, or hijacking, literally stealing and hijacking it and taking it as themselves, and then try to brainwash everything and make it look like it's something that they developed, but it has always been here and created by the melanated people on on this continent, people of color. But I just want to mention that, and how they incorporate colonizers, and they try to say just because they colonized that is their history. But you'll see what I'm talking about. I don't want to talk about hoodoo for saying this particular article, but I'm gonna touch on this particular blog, but I'm gonna explain in more details, because there's some books and some more um, articles that are scientific research too, and just general articles and books, and to get more of a understanding. But from what I have seen this hijacking of hoodoo, and you know and everybody trying to say that, especially Caucasians, that is there, that they had something to do when it didn't, when it's a particular, it's an ancient belief, or cultural, spiritual, type of, I believe, heritage that's been passed down from generation to generations by American Aborigines here in this country. They try to say it's, slaves, but everybody, we know that a lot of the Indians were captured during colonization and were thrown into slavery, and really slavery was nothing but prisoners of war, and some of them were thrown in, and then some were free, because not all American Aborigines were slaves. And that's something that is oftentimes kept hush, because they want to continue this brainwashing. But anyway, let's go down. I can go on and on talking about this. But this is the introduction, you guys. And it's also, I'm going to read this first paragraph here. It says here, American Aborigines and Native Americans' healing traditions enjoy a long and very rich history that extends beyond real history, recorded history. See? And this is what I was talking about. Let's read this again. American Aborigines and Native Americans' healing traditions enjoy a long and very rich history that extends beyond recorded history. And see, since it goes beyond, and they already seen the American Aboriginal bones here in Americas, and we already know that they're trying to erase our history just by putting Native Americans, because Caucasians trying to put themselves as being here and trying to graywash the history for justification of calling themselves Americans when they're not the Americans. They are the colonizers. They should be called European Americans, not Americans. But they are the European Americans, or the gray Americans, of this land. And so, but it says that it's beyond recorded histories, which shows that, a lot of this stuff, practices was done before written history. So they say, and even though the Cherokees did have a language, and their finding remains right now as we speak, more, showing the written languages of the Cherokee. And they said that it resembles a lot of the Hebrew language. So they had written language too. The question is, what happened to them? Who took the written language? Who took the written artifacts? Of course, the only ones who had access to it were the Greys. And so they probably took them for themselves and had locked them up and hidden them, or they probably even destroyed them like they did the records that show that we were already over here as American Aborigines. I wouldn't be surprised if they destroy some of this stuff, because they're mad because it doesn't include them. They weren't here. They're a new race of people that just got here 6,000 years ago. And the question is, they need to be asking themselves, where did they come from? Personally, I think they were implanted here as a distraction for a particular alien race to take over this planet. But that's just theory of mine. I have to do another video explaining what I think. That's why I call them gray, because I don't think they're indigenous here. They're just here to steal and pillage and destroy the planet. You can see what they're doing right now. All the trees getting torn down, buildings being destroyed. But, that's a whole nother video. But anyway, I just want to let y'all see this part about the recorded history. And it says here, colonization in the United States introduced Native Americans and American Aboriginal healing practices to non-natives, pretty much. And I've been seeing some books about sometimes with us, we have to look under slavery, because they try to keep this narrative going about slavery, those false narratives, saying slave medicine, which is pretty much the Indian medicines, American Aboriginal medicines. We got to look through the BS. And also, when I did my research, you got to look under African American and Indian. They try to differentiate when it's one and the same, because we are the Indians. Sometimes you got to look around, because I tried to look on the Aboriginal, and they still late and slow at trying to put that into the writing of who we really are and our origins. So sometimes you have to look under different keyword searches, especially on, if you're doing a Google search or an Amazon search, you got to look, look around and to find your research and expand your research in order to get more information it's like a needle in a haystack. You have to constantly search to find it. But anyway, it says historical records related to American Aborigines and Native Americans' healing traditions and ceremonies are isolated primarily to the field of anthropology, pretty much. You have to do a lot of research in anthropological research, scholarly journal articles, and sometimes you have to go further back and to get the truth, to get more some of the truth. And of course, when you read some of the research that they find, especially when they find remains of American Aboriginal, there are some of the tones are quite racist and biased, because they refuse to accept that we were already over here, and a lot of the stuff that the remains that they're finding throughout scattered throughout the Americas shows that we were here, and they recreated a lot of the stuff too, along with the Mongoloids, and it shows that we were before the Mongoloids, and we had started building prior to them being here. You can see the biasness in that as well, because they try to erase us out and still only include Mongoloids, even though the remains and everything and the scientific proof and shows otherwise, that we were here. And a lot of stuff that shows that we were here and that we also created along with the Mongoloids. And it says here, the native traditions healings may not have been accepted or credible due to the cultural encapsulation of the colonizer were writing about these traditions. Exactly. Everything is slanted towards grays, the gray Caucasians. That's what I call them, gray, G-R-A-Y, the gray race. They base it on themselves, for themselves, by themselves, and everything is oriented about themselves. So it's going to be a lot of racial biasness, like I said before, that there's a lot of biasness in the research and the writings. And a lot of times you can get the truth from the past, and because they thought that forever we will not be able to read and write and understand what they're saying, but now we do. We see the truth as it relates to actually what took place. Then it says Indian medicine was often cited as nothing more than superstition and thought to be inferior to the sophisticated medicinal practices of the early colonists. This was despite the fact that many Western colonists benefited and survived diseases through use of Native American treatments, American Aboriginal treatments. Thus, traditional healing practices were evidently successful within this time context. Exactly. And then what they did was they want to steal the knowledge, make sure nobody else know about it, hoard the resources, and create these fake companies, pharmaceutical companies, distill the resource and want everybody to pay them their behinds for producing the plants. And everybody know that the Creator and the Most High on this land, this planet, never intended for us to have to pay one person or one group of people or alien race to get the resources that the Creator created for everyone who are here on this planet. It's enough to go around, but it's just these grays and these specialty gray elites who want to hoard the resources for themselves. And that's exactly what's taking place. And they steal it and pillage and hoard the resources, don't want nobody else to be the planet, and try to take claim to something that they had nothing to do with. The knowledge was not theirs in the first place. It's not for them to keep. It's for everyone to share. And the indigenous people understood that. That's why they shared their information thinking that they were righteous people, but in actuality, they weren't. And it says here, the perspective of the Western colonizers of Native American and Aboriginal medicine changed somewhat around the beginning of the 19th century. Yeah, during this time, that's when they were stealing it, trying to put down in books and say that they created it when they didn't create crap. Nothing has to do with the Caucasians. They didn't do shit. All they do is take the things, put it under their name, and said that they created it. That's all they did. Excuse my French. But it says due to socioeconomic events, exactly, them taking over and hoarding everything. And the only thing they did was have a gun and put it to everybody's head. They couldn't, they didn't do shit. They were very cowardice people, the colonizers. It says here, for example, wars between the United States and some countries of Europe, Revolutionary War and War of 18 was disrupting access to European medicines and physicians by limited ocean vessels and transporting people and cargo to the New World. This interruption of transcontinental shipping created a change in social attitudes towards indigenous medicine and home remedies. Yeah, so supposedly that medicine didn't hardly cure anything, from what I heard. But the indigenous people had natural stuff that it was more natural, and they knew, and it actually worked. But they tried to discredit them by not including their names in none of the books, and then put themselves as the creator of it when they had nothing to do with it. Now to the very day, natural plants that actually heals, they try to pass crazy laws and licensing that benefits for themselves, by themselves, for themselves, and prevent others from using a way of hoarding and having pure greed to keep it for themselves, by themselves, especially for the rich elite. And until the poor Caucasians realize that what the rich Caucasians are doing, which I believe is an alien race, they will always, anyway. And it says here, let's continue. According to Mancini, 2007 reported that there was a post-revolutionary shift in American medicinal literature and great attention paid to Native American medicine, which is better than American Aboriginal. This is evident in the early 19th century, which is the 1800s, during slavery. Publications such as Indian Doctor's Dispensary, which you plan on stealing. That's all they did. Was steal. See, here the Indian Doctor Dispensary, 1812. Like I said, the first U.S. pharmacopoeia, which is a way of them putting it under the company so they can patent it and keep others from using it for themselves. They want to hoard the knowledge and the resource for themselves. This is when they started this crap. Medical Flora of U.S., 1828, the Indian Physician, 1829. And see, this is when they were stealing the knowledge of the indigenous people and putting it under themselves. I bet you if you go back and research this stuff, some of the medicines and stuff that the indigenous people created, you're going to see gray cockazors, the grays, faces on it, under companies and claiming that they created this stuff, which they didn't. They didn't do none of this on their own. They pretty much stole the indigenous people's knowledge for themselves. And that's what I'm talking about. And they want everybody to pay them And some of these people who are at the top of these pharmaceutical companies are very Caucasian, most of them are, and they are reaping the benefits. And I've been wondering, some of the studies I'm seeing is an alien race supposedly that's behind all of this. But that's another theory, and I can go on and on about this. The reptilians, so they say, that are affiliated with the rich, who are the rich, 1% that's hoarding all the resources, and they don't want nobody else to have access to this knowledge, and they're trying to prevent people from learning. And one way they try to do it is by discrediting it, like natural, the natural sciences, the science doctors who are into naturopathic medicines, and they have naturopathic schools for people to learn about the roots and plants and healing. They don't want people to know about it because they want to keep this knowledge for themselves, because they want people to continue to fork out money for them, and they want to constantly steal the resources for themselves. And that's what they do. And it says an examination of the documentation of medicinal plants spanning a 200-year time period in 3 different Native American Aboriginal communities revealed traditional American Aboriginal healing practices with the same plants and herbs prevailed over time, leaving a healing thread across 2 centuries. Exactly. And one of them is the hoodoo medicine, which is American Aboriginal. The American Aboriginal practices of natural healing. And when you do your research, you see nothing but great Caucasian trying to take claim to it. They're trying to take claim to it because they want to discredit all the knowledge and the wisdom that the indigenous people, the American Aborigines, had. Anything that deals with the American Aboriginal, they try to take claim because they want to be us. They know they're the new race of people that is not indigenous to this planet, but they want to take credit to something that has nothing to do with them because they weren't here hundreds of thousands of years ago. Then it goes and it says, we provide an overview of the cultural relational context in which Native American Aboriginal and American Aboriginal traditions practice was typically found. The section of this article that discussed understanding relationships between American Aboriginal and Native American healing practice and spirituality and environment and self are important. Secondly, we present the significant word medicine as a cultural construct in developing appreciation of American Indian clients' use of terms. See? Medicine man. You see what I'm saying? They stole that and put it onto themselves. And it says, thirdly, we present the information on some specific American Aboriginal and Native American traditions, healing ceremonies. We also consider suggestions for research for American Aboriginal, Native American, and Native American healing traditions. So this article goes more into detail. And if you read it, you're going to see that certain tribes, especially the Southeast Woodlands, which is us, a lot of it is us. We were pretty much scattered all over the Americas. It is us as well. They say Native American. This article is about us as well. And I think it's a great article for you to read. I'm going to read some more of it. I might come back and read some more to this article again. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to put a link for you all so y'all can check it out so you can learn more about the healing practices of our indigenous ancestors. And I would like to see what you all think. I'm going to probably come back and do a video about the hoodoo because I'm doing some research on that. They try to say it's witchcraft and all this crazy stuff that they're trying to keep us away from. That's why they gave us Christianity. It's because Christianity is a way of keeping you from tapping into and want to learn more about your indigenous roots. But please like this video, you guys, and peace. And peace and love. Bye-bye.